Brian, a 36-20 victory over Widnes this afternoon, a strong result. What pleases you more? What pleases you the most about that?
Probably the turnaround at half time. Did a few things in the first half that damaged us. I thought we pretty much dominated the first half, and then they jagged 3 tries from little bits of soft play from us. So that needed addressing, and it was. And I thought in the second half they were strong, they were dominant, and deservedly won the game.
What would you say were the key factors in that turnaround that ultimately, contributed to that strong second half success?
Well, I stopped giving them a reason to be at our end of the field. So we cleaned our little bits of errors and discipline up, and element of softness. Maybe there was a bit of residue left over from last week at the start of the game, but I didn't think that. I thought we dominated the first half. We were 12-0 up, and maybe could have had another one. And so I'm nitpicking really. I'm thrilled for the players to get back in the winner's circle against a team that beat us 3 times last year.
How would you say and feel the side executed the game plan this afternoon?
Yeah, they were okay. A little bit sometimes in the first half. It was particularly defensively. We were a bit cart before the horse. We turned that around and increased the pressure upon ourselves when it didn't need to be that way. I didn't think. That's no disrespect to Widnes. They throw everything at you and they've got some good shape when they throw the ball around. But I thought we were pretty much in control in the second half. We didn't damage ourselves when things didn't go our way. We just rolled our sleeves up and go.
How important was it to keep Widnes scoreless in that second half, Brian, especially after conceding those 3 tries late on in that first half?
Yeah, I think we've got ambition. As a group, the players have got, as a group, we've got ambitions, and we were disappointed with certainly our defensive effort in the first half, and so it needed to be better, and it was.
There was a moment in that second half where a moment of brilliance, Mitch Suter magic, so to speak, really turned that game in your favour.
Yeah, we've been trying to slow Mitch down a little bit, and he's responding, and it was a clever kick, and the fact that he chased it as hard as he did, he got a result.
And sometimes, obviously, there's that mantra, sight before self, but clearly Mitch has played what he's seen, Brian, and he struck gold on that occasion.
Yeah, I don't think that was individualism. I think part and parcel of what we do, we wanted to stay at the end of the field, and he would have helped us do that. I think we came up with a couple of kicks where we dragged them in goal, got the ball back, and we built pressure a whole lot better than we did in the first half.
2 goal and dropouts forced in that second half. You just mentioned building pressure. Joe Key's back, first game in 5. It shows you what he brings to the table when you talk about building that pressure from those kicks.
Yeah, I think he enjoyed himself. He started off with a good run try because he's a threat with the ball. You need to encourage him to run the ball. But I thought he kicked well and he organised well.
He came in for James Meadows, I believe. James Meadows ruled out with a wrist injury, Brian.
Yeah, I don't think it's serious, but it was important that we got a rest with it. He's very much part of our plans, as James.
You scored 2 early tries in as many minutes. Was there any kind of notion of not falling in love with yourselves, but you've got those 2 early tries, entering that comfort zone, I kind of guess?
Yeah, perhaps. I thought that's the dominant side of what I was talking about. I thought we started the game really, really well. And maybe a few people clocked off, but it gets you beaten at it's championship level. It's a tough competition, so there are lessons for us to learn there.
And it's a situation that you're probably quite familiar with when you look at recent home games, both League and Cup against Sheffield, where it's been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde first half performance, but does that familiarity that how to be calm and patient and trust the process, does that kind of work in your favour, you feel?
I think so, but you don't want to keep replicating that, because sometimes you're going to get dudded. We lost again to Barrow early in the season down here for those self-same reasons. And so it's important that we're on and keep on. And I think the boys would agree with what we're saying now, is that we gave Widnes a leg up in the first half.
And is that what you want to take from this game, Brian? That kind of learning curve experience that can't keep happening?
Well, I want to say it's a very, very good win. You know, a lot of teams wouldn't have handled the pressure of half time, wouldn't have handled it. But I think they responded really, really well. You know, it was mentioned at half time that we need to score 3 tries and we don't want to let them score 1. And that's what we activated.
First game back in 4 for Adam Skur. You know what he brings when he comes straight off, Brian. Big carries, big impact, big meters. And I guess you can say the same for your other bench players, Nathan Mason.
Yeah, I thought Bayliss and Mason and Skur helped us to turn the game around. You know, Nathan Mason particularly, his strike carries were strong. Logan again showed why he's here. And Skur does what Skur does. He gets quick play of the ball. He's in great shape for that. The more games he gets and the more time he is on feet, the better for all.
You now joint top with Toulouse, Brian. Like I said, going into this game, 6 games unbeaten in the league. Momentum's building.
I hope so. But you mentioned this before. It's important that we rock up every week and try to get better. And there's things we could have done better today.
Is there been any talk about maintaining that pressure and keeping pace with Toulouse? Or
No, not with 14 games to go. I think it's a bit early. I think next week's more important.
has everybody come through okay?
I believe so, yeah.
That's a positive as well with that injury adversity easing.
Yeah.
You're saying, Brian, obviously about Widnes's recent record against this team. You know, it shows they're hard to beat here, and the fact that you say you went in at half time losing, you know, that's a mental test as well for the players, isn't it? Because you know some of those players will have played in those games previously, and as a club, you know, you probably thought, oh, it's another one of those games with Widnes where it's going to be flipping, you know, very little in it, and you've got to somehow wrestle that back from them again.
I think the reflection from the players is it's a little bit self-harm as well. We're getting ourselves into those situations by some of our own mistakes. And so it's things that you can clean up. And I think learning how to dominate games and being on top for the whole 80 minutes is something that we're aiming for. As I say, I thought we started well and then got a little bit flat, maybe thinking the game was going to be easy. But against Widnes, for the reasons you've said, they're never easy. And so we had to regroup and rebuild our dominance.
And presumably it's encouraging from your point of view that you can have parts of games when it's a struggle, but you still come through it and they still come out with a victory. You know, it's still.
Well, we've got some good players, and they recognise what was going on at half time as well. But it's easy talking words like we're talking about now. You've got to put some actions into place, and they put actions into place, and that's the good sign, that they can recognise what's going on and then deliver something either physically or skillfully that gets us out of the mire.
I was going to say, you sort of second half, you could see Widnes sort of slowly. They had a bit of confidence and they go into half time, but you can sort of see it slowly start to ebb away when they couldn't find a way back through, and they were just.
Well, I just think the kicking game helped. We had to be patient and get to the right end of the field. I think after 10-12 minutes of the second half we didn't breach their line, and that can bring its own pressures. You know, we were 2 points behind on the scoreboard. We missed a goal kick which might have brought pressure in other ways, but it didn't. You know, we stuck to our task, and that was a good thing about the win.
I was going to say, were you watching those first 20 minutes of the second half, were you always sort of thinking we're going to be okay here, even though the points weren't coming at that point?
Yeah, I always think that with this team. You know, we'll get to the right parts of the field and always score points, but it's folly if we think we can keep conceding 20 points every week and expect to do well in this competition. You know, we've got to take some action.
I should say that second half, presumably in terms of the defensive effort, must give everyone a boost, because obviously after York last week and then the first half this week, they probably wanted to get back to what they, you know, how they have been up to that point. But
yeah, I think some of our standards are quite high. It's important that the coaching staff and myself maintain those standards, because I do believe it will be the difference towards the end. And I just think we were less than at the mark in the first half defensively, for sure.
perhaps you could settle off something. What was that penalty given for, right on half time? Right.
I don't know.
It penalised Mitsu of
Was it?
being offside, yeah, not square.
Was
So
it?
the charge,
On the charge.
the charge down, yeah. That's what we had the refs audio. That's what we had.
Well,
Yeah.
the refs are the refs in the championship level, and I think in the first half there were a couple of decisions, but I'm not complaining about it being anywhere, shape or form. There was a knock on there that gave them a bit more field position and gave them a chance to have a crack at our line. It wasn't, in the tackle. So, but in the main, he's a pretty decent referee. This.
But again, it's a thing that the players have got to overcome, that frustration immediately to come
If
back
you start
out.
thinking about the referees in the championship, you're a gunner, trust me. So it's about what we do.
It's Doncaster next week. They've had a big win over London. Another tough game, Brian, for you.
Yeah, they're all tough. We're on the road again, I think. It's a nice stadium. Yeah, we'll look forward to it. We'll enjoy the win tonight and review the game tomorrow, and then we'll paint the pictures for Doncaster. We're a good team. We've had some good wins.
Just on Tom Holmes and George to fill, how far off are both of those, Brian?
Well, Holmes is nearer than George. 3 weeks maybe, something like that. George to fill's a bit longer than that.
I'm kind of guessing during that injury adversity, you've always remained loyal to that squad and that quality and depth. You've not done what's happened in previous years where there's been this lone player, that dual reg player, and that's a real positive. Because I think up to today, Brian, I think it's still 25 players used, 25, 26 players used, where last season it was nearly 50. Well, I think at this stage last year, I worked it out, I think we're at 39 players used already this time last year.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you make. We've tried to stay in-house. The joints been creaking at times with injuries, and I wouldn't hesitate to go out if I thought we needed to either replace somebody or rest somebody. But the fact that we've managed to stay in-house, I think that it builds a camaraderie amongst the group that we can pretty much cope with anything.
So, Ron, really quickly, you said about Tom being back in about 3 weeks. Is that back able to train, or would that be?
Oh no, we're hoping maybe a month. It'll certainly be after the Challenge Cup break, 1895 Cup break. So he's going really well as Tom, but then you've got to try and test it and things like that.
Yeah.
So he's still certainly non-contact.